Hey, people.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Ray. Hello, Richard and Jenny and Holly and all of you watching online wherever you are today. Welcome to Hope and Anchor. It's good to see everyone today. Hope and Anchor, we are a bit of a weekly this autumn, a weekly experiment, getting together and talking with folks, whoever wants to join in, a conversation about spirituality, which is something that we all experience differently, but looking for commonalities, looking for new ways of thinking about that, and just having a good time. So welcome to Hope and Anchor. We always say every week that it's not just about the four of us on screen, but about all of you kind of participating. So please put comments in the comment section, post on social media using the hashtag Hope and Anchor. It's wonderful to see all these folks saying hello from wherever they are. Hello, hello, hello. Every week we start with a sort of a first round question. And today the question is, the interview later was with a wonderful guy called Marcelo Leites, who is Uruguayan and lives in Buenos Aires. And I was just thinking about this movement of people across the world, a Christian spiritual movement. And I was just thinking, we all love our homeland. There's something wonderful about where we're from. But the question for today is, if you could live in another country in the world, where would that be and why? All right. If you could live in another country beyond your homeland, where would that be and why? So let us know. Put that into the chat. We want to see your comments. Those of you watching and participating from home. Those of you who are here on screen right now, what about y'all? Where would you like to live other than the lovely UK or the Crown Dependency Islands of Channel Islands where you're from?
I'm quite torn because I was brought up here in the UK, but I have two homelands. I have England, and the other homeland is Sri Lanka. And obviously, I couldn't live in Sri Lanka because of the war for so many years. My dad lives out there now, so am I allowed to say Sri Lanka because it is kind of my homeland, but it's not at the same time. So I would like to propose a happy medium. I would like to propose that I live in a different country for every month of the year.
Oh,
Or Mexico. I'll go to Raul. I'm going to stay with you, Raul, in Mexico. That sounds good to me. That's January.
Oh, there you go. You got your first month in Mexico with Raul. Wonderful. Welcome, Raul. Welcome, Suze, who thinks Canada might be nice. I wonder why Suze thinks Canada might be nice. Sweden from Andy. I love the sense of calm. What about those others of you? Holly, Richard, what about y'all?
I think I'd quite like to live in Ireland.
By Naomi.
Yeah, because of basically all the stereotypes about the great culture and pubs and Irish music. I think I'd fit right in. I'd love that. I think it'd be fun.
Oh, lovely.
Anywhere warm, Eunice Atwood says. I'm not sure that
Yes.
qualifies as a country, but okay, yeah.
To follow off the back of that, then I have to say Barbados. Just the sand, the sea, a cold Ribena in my hand. I'm in heaven.
A cold Ribena.
Yes.
I love that.
Cold Ribena.
Wonderful.
How about you, Trey?
Well, my homeland is the States, U.S. Obviously, my other homeland is the U.K., so I love both those places. But there's Robin Fox. Indeed, we did meet in Chicago all those years ago. Hello, Robin. I think for me, today at least, it would be a place like Iceland. We had a hiking holiday in Iceland a couple years ago, and I love the austerity of it. Like, it's just so severe. I'm a big outdoors person. The older I get, the more I love being outside, and the more I'm less interested in sort of like loads of buildings. I love cities too, but yeah, the idea of like living in a place that's actually splitting apart at the seam, which Iceland's doing right now because it's on this tectonic plate. Yeah, Iceland.
That's so funny because I was having a conversation with someone about Iceland this morning and having an argument about whether or not there are trees in Iceland. And I don't think there are trees in Iceland, but the other person was saying that there are. So Trey, any idea about trees in Iceland?
There are sparse trees. There are like some tree patches, and they're well known in Iceland. So, but not very many because the glaciers sort of just killed everything as they rolled over it. Right?
Oh, I love trees. I couldn't live somewhere without trees.
Iceland's not for you, really. Ireland, you'll be all right.
Yeah. I've also heard a rumor that Iceland smells a lot like egg because of the volcano stuff.
There's it's sulfurous, but you have to play with, but maybe not for you.
Strings and roundabouts. So I think we're continuing the kind of global theme, and we're rolling into the next segment, which means it's time for In the News. So if you've watched Hope and Anchor before, you'll know that this is the game of headlines where we present 1 true and 2 false headlines. And it's up to our Hope and Anchor hosts and you all watching at home to pick out the genuine headline from the fake news. Now, I know this week we're going to be talking a lot about young leaders and also kind of that global perspective. And last month, the winners of the James Dyson Award were announced. And that is an international student design award that challenges young people of university age to design something that solves a problem. So our 3 headlines today relate to the winning products from the 2021 competition. And as usual, you guys have to work out which one is real and which 2 are fake news. So everybody ready? Please do join in at home. Please do pop your answers in the chat.
We need your help.
So headline number 1, winning invention, a new leaf. New technologies turn fallen leaves into paper, reducing deforestation. Headline number 2, winning invention, tamponade, life-saving device for knife wound victims inspired by tampon design. Headline number 3, winning invention, escargot, vehicles that run eco-fuel made from snail shells. Now, what do we think? Which one is the winning invention of the James Dyson Award?
If you're at home, let us know 1, 2, or 3 so we can have your help. That's a tough one. Yeah. I think it's between 1 and 2. I think it's between the leaf paper and the tamponade knife wound Band-Aid, essentially plaster.
I want number 1 to be true because I have a Holly, you love it. It's a huge your holly a cherry tree outside of my back garden, and I've spent weeks and weeks and weeks picking up all the leaves, and it is doing my head in. So I want an invention to suck up all the leaves and then to make it into paper like that. So yes, please. Number 1 for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with number 1 as well. I'm going to go with number 1.
You and Naomi.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to go for number 2. And Claire Gunn, I'm going to go for number 2 because I think about sadly how much violence our world is kind of fueled by and run by and driven by, and it's a cross-context thing, right? This kind of propensity. But so I'm thinking that might be something that could actually save lives really, really quickly. So I'm going with number 2, the tamponade. Susan Applegate says number 2. Elaine.
I'm a bit sad that no one's saying escargot.
I mean,
that needs to be a thing.
Oh, here come all the answers from people across. Oh, everyone. It seems like 2 is
number
gathering.
2.
Number 2.
Me and you, Richard, and Elaine, and 1 or 2 others. We're out on a limb here.
Yes, come on, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Would they could all be true? Because wouldn't that be fabulous if we could have fuel run by former poor snails who cast off their mortal shell. Running fuel.
Such a wasted resource, those snail shells. Well, do you want to know the answer? I think people at home know the answer as well. Yeah. Loads of you have got it right today. The answer is number 2. It's the tamponade device, and the way it works is the worst thing you can do if you've suffered a knife wound is to have the knife removed from you, because the knife in your wound is actually stopping you bleeding. So the way this is like a plug. So the way this works is following the same sort of design as a tampon. You pop a silicone balloon in and then you pump it up to the shape of the wound so it stems the bleeding. And this amazing design came from a UK entrant to the James Dyson Award, and a guy based at Loughborough University who came up with this life-saving device. And what I love about this story is it's an example of a young change maker using their incredible gifts of technology and creativity and design to help the vulnerable rather than the privileged. And I think that is gospel stuff. That's stuff that speaks of the gospel to me.
I love that.
That's amazing.
Oh, I just also think about, I know we think about Jesus in different ways, but one of the ways I think of Jesus is coming to sort of show that violence, God is not invested in violence, and that violence is not divine activity, and sort of coming to sort of say this mechanism that you have, human beings, that you think holds the world together is a false mechanism, and I'm coming to sort of show you that once and for all. So So I just think about this young change leader who's trying to sort of live. I don't know if they're a Christian or a person of faith or not, but trying to live out that non-violent approach to life.
I'm reminded of the interview with Rachel when she talks about, do you remember the plaster? This is like a super plaster, isn't it? And, we need these things to stop things like knife crimes and things. But, as Christians, we're also called to try and challenge that. Why have we got knife crime in the first place? Let's get rid of that. It's like if I pardon the very, very bad pun, it's a two-edged sword that we need, a way to have these life-saving ways of preventing knife crimes of people dying, but also we need to eradicate knife crime as well and make that a thing. A plaster.
I love that. Amazing headlines, amazing young leaders. There is hope with young leaders like that. Thanks for those headlines, and thanks for playing at home. And I had this chance, interestingly connected to kind of our conversation now. I had this chance earlier this season to talk with a wonderful guy called Marcelo Leites, who is the General Secretary of the World Student Christian Federation. He's from Uruguay. As I said earlier, he lives in Argentina, has been an organizer and a leader in student Christian movements in Latin America and the Caribbean, and now works globally with all of these student Christian movements across the world. And student Christian movements are really diverse from country to country, but they're all about getting young people involved in change making. And they work across political, justice, faith issues, around knife crime, and all kinds of stuff. And I was asking him to sort of reflect on how do young people get empowered to sort of step into the fight, into the struggle, into the work for justice. So listen into our conversation. You mentioned young people. Obviously, it's a movement of young people, a federation of young people. And I think there will be lots of young people kind of watching the show today and online later who may feel that burning call, that burning passion to get involved in change, but maybe feel some blocks or barriers or impediments to taking a step into that. I'm curious, what do you think some of the major, in your experience, the major blocks are, barriers to young people saying, I'm in, we can do this? And what would be, if you were speaking to young people, which you are, what would be your top tip or your top encouragement to them to take a step? So major block and top tip for getting involved.
Well, major blocks. Well, I think that ecumenical movement, but not only ecumenical movement, also, secular organizations have been led by all people, senior leaders, I would say, are very experienced, they are very good, but sometimes the culture, I would say, the culture of senior leaders have blocked the youth participation. In which sense? It's not that they have not the possibility to participate, but sometimes in churches, in organizations, in political movements, youth are assigned, or young people are assigned with some kind of roles. So those roles are related to mobilization, to demonstration, which are very good. And young people should be transformative, should be revolutionary, but also young people can plan, can strategize, can take decisions. And those roles of decision making or leading processes, activities, are always more assigned to adults. So this is something that we need to change together. And this is not something that it will be given to us, especially to younger generations. It's something that young people behind the camera or behind the computer or the phone should understand. Young people should go and take those spaces. Respectfully, being serious, but without leaving their prophetical voice behind, without leaving the strengths of the youth. These revolutionary actions that have changed the world in several times. Most of the revolutions we had in history have been led by young people who want transformations. And one more thing, nowadays we are facing a war where extremism and hate speech and even religious fundamentalism are increasing, and they are trying to co-opt young people, and many young people are participating of those groups. So we have all young people have this responsibility to take a step forward in change the world and reject fascism, reject hate speech, and as a churches, as communities, we also have this important role to be more appealing, to be more open, in order young people could lead and could feel that there are some hopes for them and for future generations.
I'm blown away.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think? I'm going to keep quiet because I'm an older person.
Wow.
Younger people, what do you think?
I want to leave this chat show and go and listen to the rest of it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad there's more of that we can listen into. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Definitely. Go on, Holly.
I was just going to say, I was really struck by what you were talking about kind of the cost almost of stepping up into leadership when you're a minority voice in some way, or like when you're someone that doesn't have the authority easily given to you, and how that it's hard work, but that is a responsibility as well. I think that's really inspiring.
I wonder if part of that is because it's about power and control, and the power and control that is held often by people who are older, often usually male, and often usually white. And letting go of some of that power is exceptionally difficult.
Yeah.
I'm
curious. I just want to invite people from home who are watching. You know, what? How would you kind of comment into this? I really appreciated. He was saying it wasn't that these older folks were poorly intentioned. It wasn't that they were. He was sort of saying these are serious leaders. These are important leaders, but they're not the only leaders, right? Like, and so like I heard the encouragement to sort of take action, to move into those spaces respectfully, but to move in with a holy urgency behind.
Yeah.
I really powerful. And I think when I was young, I had people who did that for me. Naomi, yeah.
I kind of think like that this issue of like sometimes young people being disregarded has been something that's always existed. I think of like Jesus, when parents tried to bring the young children to Jesus in the Bible, and then the disciples was like, don't bother him with that. He's got more important things to deal with. And he's like, what are you doing? Like, the kingdom of God belongs to these people. I think it's something that's always kind of happened. But I love the fact when I read the Gospels, I don't see Jesus distinguishing between this is a young Christian and this is an old Christian. Just we're all Christians. So I guess like by that token, it's like, how can we make space where we are involving young people and empowering young people to be at the forefront of making decisions? Because I don't see them being any differences being made with that within the Gospels.
It's really interesting. Tiz commenting there about listening and the comment around being intergenerational. So I think what I heard in the conversation with Marcelo and what you're saying, Richard, is that it's not about young people good, older people bad. It's about kind of power and making sure there is kind of mutuality and listening deeply, and how we do that.
Yeah. And something Holly? I think I heard from that interview was about holding on to your kind of prophetic perspective. So if you are brought into a position of power, or you're sitting around the table with a bunch of people with a very different perspective to you, how do you hang on to that kind of the difference that you bring? How do you not just turn that into an echo chamber, but actually hold tight to what you're there for and who you are and the perspective that you offer?
And that issue of change, it's the dirty C word, change. And it's really, really challenging. I think about in my context of I'm a Methodist minister, and the people in senior powers of leadership, they are all older than me. But when I think about when they were trained in whatever profession they were in the whatever year it was, it's radically different to how we train people today. And actually, when was the last time they were in that kind of learning institution of leadership on how we're training people now? They are worlds apart. And so often there is this clash of cultures because the way that people were trained is so different. And I think that's quite true of most industry, actually. So,
Absolutely.
but that, Holly, you're spot on with the money about when often you get into these positions of leadership, you lose that prophetic that prophetic voice. I remember I'm a huge Obama fan, love Obama, and we had great hopes, and he was this great prophetic voice. But then, you know, the system bashed him down.
Yeah.
That's my personal political opinion, though, not the opinion of the Methodist Church. Let me make that very clear.
We welcome people of all different political philosophies and different, you know, we vote in different ways, but you know, there's a theme here coming up around sort of iron, that whole biblical concept of iron sharpening iron, you know, like she talked about wisdom and innovation. Someone had said, I think that's right. It's not good or bad. It's like together that's where the power is.
I think to get the fullness, you're gonna have to have like the wisdom of people that are slightly older, but also the energy, the innovation that young people bring along. It needs to be a partnership working. It can't be.
I think they call it. Isn't that something? Isn't something in the Bible about the body of Christ?
Oh yeah, that is it, isn't it? That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, for those people who are watching who may not be familiar with that concept, you want to say a little bit more about that really quickly, Jenny?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal analogy, and it basically says that the church, or if you're not a Christian, humanity, we've all got our different bits, and no part of the body is more or less important than anything else. And you should never ever be jealous of any other part of the body, because what would the world be like if we were all eyes or all little fingers? It'd be terrible. But when we all work together, that is when we are at our best. And that is true with, you know, intergenerational things. And so working together. Amen. I think is that a fair summary?
Yeah,
that's great.
I think we've got another potential t-shirt design there, or mug design, Hope and Anchor merch, saying together is where the power is.
Yes, preach.
So we're going to continue the conversation with Richard here in a second, but I want to just say you can watch the whole interview with Marcelo online at our YouTube channel. And next week, just a little bit of a foretaste. Next week we have Dowd Irfan, who is the Methodist Youth President, who will be coming, and we'll be sort of continue the conversation. It'll be good to get his perspective on being a very young leader with a very important strategic role. So anyway, lovely to talk with y'all about Marcelo, and I think we're going to keep the conversation going about young people, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we come to the bit of the show which is all about interviewing a practitioner, and our practitioner today is already around the table. It's the wonderful Richard. So Richard, you are the Young Evangelist Officer for the Methodist Church, and you're based at Cliff College, doing amazing stuff, equipping young people in evangelism. And you've not been in the role long, but you're beginning to get your teeth into it, aren't you? And you're excited about what's coming up. But Richard, I wonder if you could just tell us, what do you love about working with young people?
Oh man, first and foremost, thanks for having me at the table. This is a really, really nice table, and I'm hoping to come again. Yeah, I might not be able to get rid of me, guys, but no,
what are you doing next week?
I'll put it in my diary. I'll make space. But no, what I love about working with young people is their energy. It's amazing. I love the fact that they are so funny. No 2 days, if you're working with young people, are the same, which is amazing. But also what you can learn from them. You can learn so much. They're so innovative. They're so creative. You can just learn so much from them. I also love the realness. They want the real. They don't want the fluff. They don't want the story. Give them the real, and that's what I love. So that's what I love when I'm working.
That's great. Thank you. And I think that authenticity is definitely something we can learn from. That's great.
Yeah.
So question number 2 for you is, what is your dream for young people in the church? What is your dream for young people in the church?
Can I dream as big as I want? Can I share it with you guys? You guys can hack my dreams, you sure?
We want them.
Cool. I think ultimately what I would love to see within the Methodist Church, which I'm working a part of and love, is to see young people with vibrant relationships with Jesus, vibrant relationship with Jesus, and how that then has an impact on the way they live their life. So whether that is how they care about climate change, how they care about other people, how they go into professions, whether it's in sports or film. I'd love to see how that relationship with Jesus has a ripple effect on how they live their lives and how they become a blessing to the communities. That is my dream within the Methodist Church and wider.
Come on now.
That's great.
Amen.
Yeah, I love that, Richard. Thank you. Just wondering if there's maybe people watching, maybe young people watching who aren't Christians, or I'm not quite sure about this whole thing called the Christian faith. I wonder what's the one thing that you would want them to hear today?
Oh man, what is the one thing I would want them to hear today? What is the one thing that I would want them to hear today? It would be that, you know what, there is this amazing, exciting journey that they can have with Jesus, and they're invited to go in it where they can experience life and life in abundance. It's the maddest roller coaster where there's ups and downs, but I promise you it is so worth it. But it's an invitation. You don't have to change yourself before you come. You can come with your questions, you can come with your doubts, you can come with all your isms and schisms. Everybody's welcome to come. So keep exploring. That would be my one thing.
Oh, I want to be young. I want to be young again.
I've got goose pimples, Richard. Oh, it was beautiful.
That was beautiful. Richard, thanks so much for joining us for the interview and for the whole show. Yeah, we love having you.
Oh man, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Richard. We've had such an incredible show today. Thank you to everybody who's participated, and thanks to you for watching. We've learned so many amazing things. In our first interview, we learned a little bit about blocks for young people and senior leaders in the different cultures, that young people should be transformative and revolutionary, but also strategic, and have the power and the courage to make those important decisions, which is so often later assigned to the adults. It's never ever given to young people, is it? They have to take those spaces and take those places without leaving their prophetic voice behind. Because I'm reminded that most revolutions have always been led by young people who demanded that change. And we live in a world which is so fueled by hatred and fundamentalism. We have a responsibility to reject that hate speech and to be a church which is opening, inclusive, and show hope for future generations. And then Richard, you inspired us. Brother, you inspired us. Young people have an infectious energy, and no 2 days are the same. And we can learn so much by our young people and be inspired by their realness. And your beautiful dream, Richard, for young people to have a vibrant relationship with Jesus and see that ripple effect in every aspect of their life. And if you are somebody who is teetering on the edge and just thinking, I want some of what Richard is saying, and I need to know a little bit more, but I don't know where to go. Do reach out and email us at Hope and Anchor, where we will put you in touch with somebody and we can help answer some of those questions. And you would be so welcome in part of our family. Don't just sit there questioning. Come and join the fun. Come and join a world and life-changing roller coaster of a journey, and I promise you, you'll never, ever, ever look back. We've been having a blast here on Hope and Anchor this autumn, and I can't believe, everybody, we've only got 2 weeks left. And our last episode is going to be on the 7th of December. But for us around the table, and hopefully for you around our wider table, we've enjoyed this experiment so much. And so we are praying and reflecting about the possibility of a second season. Maybe. We've got no definite plans yet, but if we do something another series, we'd love to know what you think. So we'd love to incorporate your comments and your feedback. What have you liked? What have you not liked? What can we do better? What would make this more interesting for you in your communities and your churches? And most importantly, who can we interview that you'd love to see on the show? No comment is a stupid comment. We'd love to hear them all. So do get in touch at hopeandanchor@methodistchurch.org.uk, because you are part of our family. You're part of the Hope and Anchor team, and you are invested in it just as much as we are. So do get in touch and let us know what's going on. Now, hopefully you should know by now, we are the praying kind of people. You might not be, that's okay. But we like to finish by praying together. And by that, we mean just by sharing something that's on our heart, about something we want to give, to say, this is doing really well, I'm giving thanks, or I need some help with this in my life. You may be somebody who doesn't normally do this, but you are so welcome to join in. So do pop in the chat what you're praying for and how can we pray for you. Co-host, my beloved people around the table, what is something on your heart right now that you want to remember this week? Shall I pick or go for it, Holly?
Yeah, we touched on knife crime earlier as part of one of those headlines, and I just would love to pray for people who've been affected by knife crime, people who are caught up in the culture of knife crime, people who are so scared for their lives, for the way that they live their lives, that they carry knives, or that they're, you know, everyone affected by knife crime. I'd like to bring.
I was out for a run today, and it was dark, and I know that winter is on its way, and I just was thinking about all those who have in the past or right now experiencing kind of challenges in mental health, and I think COVID only exacerbates that stuff. And as we roll into the winter, and with cases going up around the world, again, I think there's just so much on our shoulders, and so just praying for those who feel especially stretched thin or brought low by mental health challenges in this time.
I think for me, last week, or was it? Last week, that obviously you might have been following the case in America with Kyle Rittenhouse. Regardless of what people's opinions are on it, I'm just praying for peace in that community, God's peace to be in that community. So.
For me, I was really challenged by the first question that you asked this trainer. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? And I'm really, really mindful that I am so lucky. I have a passport, I have an identity, and I have a place and a community and a country to which I belong. But I'm so aware that there are so many people, displaced people, without a passport, without a sense of identity. And indeed, so refugees, asylum seekers, displaced people, it's a big one. And particularly during this winter time, as you said, Trey, it's a really challenging time to be a human.
That's right.
Particularly if you don't have a formal identity. So thank you for sharing with us what's on your hearts, and for those who've been sharing with us as well. The prayer we're going to share today comes to us from the 12-step addiction recovery community, and you are invited to name God however you do or do not understand God. And if you're agnostic or atheist and you want to join us, amazing. But if you're not comfortable with the word God or any religious language, you can simply address your prayer to whom it may concern or to the power to which you submit yourself to. The prayer is going to come up on the slide, and as we pray it together, Richard is going to voice it to us today.
Okay. God, give us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much to everybody who's been watching. We've loved having you participate and take part in today's show. It's been amazing to be with you all, Holly, Trey, and Richard. Amazing. Oh, thanks for the second with all the information for the series too. Thanks, guys. But we need to tell us more. Join us next week. We'd love to have you here when our guests will be, as already mentioned, Dawud Irfan and Mark North. So from myself, Jenny, Holly, Trey, and Richard, we say to you, see you next week, same time, same place.
See you guys. Bye.